So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start with a really big number. Hopefully. Possibly not. There we go. 500 million. That's how many small-scale farmers there are around the world that have no access at all to the internet. Now, imagine how isolating that is. Imagine that you lived here. You're 20 miles walk from the nearest village and struggling to access any kind of information at all to help you improve your farm, maybe to battle a disease or to plant a new crop. But fortunately, that's not the end of this story, because 90% of these farmers now have access to a basic, simple mobile phone. And that opens up a world of possibility. With WeFarm, we're supporting these farmers to access and share vital, really important pieces of information, peer-to-peer, without having to leave their farm, without spending any money, and without having any access at all to the internet. Now, this is a big idea, right? Think of the influence that the internet has had on all of us in the Western world, on how we access information. If I was to ask everyone, every single person in this room, everybody watching around the world, to think of something that you've learned or discovered on the internet in the last 24 hours. Maybe it was a recipe for last night's dinner. Maybe it was a train time to come here this morning. Maybe it was to look up the Wikipedia page of this amazing building. Almost certainly the piece of knowledge that you discovered was written by somebody that you've never met, and possibly even came from a country that you've never been to. It's almost universally accepted that access to information is a really important piece of lifting people out of poverty. But almost all of us, I think, also universally think that the best way to do this is to issue top-down instructions. Basically, I think if we're honest with ourselves, everybody thinks that poor people just need to be told what to do. If there's one big idea that we'd like to share with the world, it's that the rules in developing countries are not different. There are generations worth of knowledge and experience within these communities to share, and it's about finding relevant and useful tools to do it. And this is an example of how we work at WeFarm. So this is Victor. He's a tea farmer in rural Kenya, and his plants were being attacked by a bug, a pest, that he'd never seen before. So he sends a simple, free text message, an SMS, to our local WeFarm number outlining his problem. WeFarm shares that question via text message with other people in our network, other farmers who have experience to share. In this example, it was Doris. She's also a tea farmer, but in Uganda, and has been battling this same pest every day of her life for the last 20 years. So who better to start sharing useful, relevant information so that Victor, back on his farm in rural Kenya, has just received something really important without leaving his farm or spending any money. But that's not the end of this as a problem. I think this is also a problem for all of us, for me, for you, and for some of the biggest businesses in the world. These same farmers supply the vast majority of all the food that we eat on Earth, all of the hot drinks, the brands that we all know, the stuff that we all buy. It's estimated that more than 30 billion of this a year is lost on the ground simply due to small problems. And it's not just the farmers themselves that carry the consequences of this, but the big multinationals and governments who effectively pay for this supply chain, but for obvious reasons have almost zero visibility on a disconnected world. And that's the other side of WeFarm. We can harness the power of the thousands, the tens of thousands of conversations happening on our system to bring truly world-changing insight for both social and commercial purposes. Imagine the insight that we can generate from the supply chain and the things that we can do with that. And this isn't just an idea, this is something that we're actually proving can work. We launched WeFarm a year ago and already have 51,000 farmers signed up to the system. And not just signed up, but they're actually using it. We've shared more than 7 million interactions in our first year, and all of it between people with no access to the internet. But that's just the start of where we'd like to go. Our aim in the next 12 months, and we think we can get there with your help, is to get 1 million farmers using and benefiting from WeFarm. And imagine the data we can create from that. Imagine that we could start to track and monitor disease, maybe an outbreak of foot and mouth in entire countries where none of this analytics or live data even exists. I'd like to leave you with the story of Kefa. Kefa farms chickens, 52 of them to be precise. He contacted WeFarm a couple of weeks ago because half of his flock had died within 2 days from a disease that was ripping around. The information that he received through WeFarm helped him save 27 of his chickens. Now, sitting here today, 27 chickens might not seem like a big deal, but to Kefa they are. The meat and the eggs that he can sell at the market put food on his table, they pay for his kids to go to school, they are his entire livelihood. Think of the impact of 27 of his chickens surviving rather than dying. That is a really important thing. If we go back to the village that we saw at the beginning, hopefully now, a few minutes later, it seems a bit more connected than it did. And we can start to imagine the possibilities of connecting 100 million Kefas to this system. Imagine sharing knowledge and vital ideas that change people's livelihoods across tens of millions of farmers. And we think with your help, we can get there. In the room, we have ministers of agriculture, we have governments. We'd like to partner with you and the NGOs that work with these farmers, with the businesses that source from them. And we think that with your support to build on what we've done during the first year, we can get there and we can bring this to 100 million Kefas. Thank you very much.